you may think that government and companies are like separate entities, which technically they are. But who pays these politicians? It's the companies. So
Yeah, 100%.
in the end, it's like politicians have nothing to like. They conspire with with the rich people basically because
Yeah.
money is pretty much power.
Well,
It,
this
it,
is
it does.
why this is why a shift and a change needs to happen. If we're going to do anything, that like people need to understand what a government is actually used for, and we need to get back to the roots of like why have a government? Like a government is necessary. You can't have anarchy and people doing whatever they want, but it should exist for certain reasons. It should exist to protect like individual people's rights, and it's getting to a point like you said where it's they're trying to turn everyone into the same thing versus uh
Well, yeah, and in the end, it's like the. I mean, looking back in history, dude, it's always been the same theme. You had kings and nobles, and they hoarded all the shit. All the peasants were just broke and hungry, and the powerful and the rich stashed all the fucking gold, and they fought each other for power. Like
mhm.
if you look at, for example, I know Game of Thrones is like a fucking fantasy world, but if you just look at that, like that's been going on throughout like world history, like kings trying to overthrow kings, and or like if you watch the Vikings, it shows like really cool way
Yeah.
how like loyalty works, and like if somebody's ambitious, you're technically an enemy because you have ambitions. So you're not just like you're not a follower. You're like you're trying to create your own thing. So that's why the way I see it is now is like they don't like people who are independent thinkers because like it's like you're not following the program, so you have ambition, you're trying to do your own thing, and they don't like that. So
Yeah.
uh, this
I
whole
mean,
like power thing, man, it's been going on for years. So that's why politicians are like, hey, all these business people have all this money, and we can get a piece of it if we
well,
just work with them.
there's a way to fix this, and this is what people don't understand. They when you get into this two-party system, you're letting these people, this small percentage of people, consolidate power and make the laws that govern you. You realize like Democrats and Republicans are like respectively like 5 to 10% of the population each. So you're basically letting 20% of the population dictate laws for the other 80%. Like that's what happens when you have these parties and they seem huge and they seem like they're the only two choices that can matter, but it's only because like they are able to basically form like the machine that is required to get their people into office, and they do it better than the other parties. That's the only reason, but it's still an incredibly small percent of people. You have these 5 to 10% in each party that's dictating all of these laws and rules for the other 80% of people. When you look at it like percentage wise, you realize, wow, this is like a really small minority. They seem loud, they seem huge, but honestly, and people lean which way when it comes to voting, but honestly, when you look down to it, people are much more individualistic than just blue or red. And that's why to change the system, like we would just need to change the way we can vote, like the voting system. It enables and allows this sort of consolidation of power to naturally devolve into two parties, because that's the only way you're going to get somebody that you maybe kind of like versus the guy
But
you definitely don't like.
here's the thing, though. In Poland, we have more political parties than just two. But in the end, it all comes down to picking out of the two. And it's been pretty much the same thing, left versus right.
Well,
And
that's
you would think like Poland is a completely different country, different continent, different people, Eastern Europeans. And in the end, it was all the same thing. It was right conservatives versus progressive leftists.
Well, that's
And
because that's first past the post voting. A lot of countries use it in like the Western civilization, and that's what makes it devolve into this. You see this trend among countries that aren't necessarily like similar, even culture wise, but you're like, well, so why does it always keep devolving into two parties? It's because all of these countries use first past the post, which is you get one vote to one side, use it well, and that's why the consolidation happens because people go, okay, I definitely don't want that guy, and I might not like this guy the best, but I definitely like him over that, so I'm gonna vote for this guy, and everyone ends up voting for just these two people because it gives them the best chance
But
to win.
I understand that it's like you want to consolidate your votes because technically, if you think about like all the people who voted for the Libertarian Party, like
Yeah, they just fucked over
for
the Republicans
yeah,
because
they fucked
they're
over
on the
Republicans.
same
So
side, sort of, in
yeah,
a lot of
well,
areas.
in a lot of
Not
things,
all.
right? But
Yeah.
so if those people voted for on the right, Trump could have been in office. But I mean, I look at this in a bigger perspective because I think it's a cultural war, really, if you think about it. Because
Well, it gets created into a culture war because it's seen as so black and white. It's like one side versus the other. It all like ties in. It's not like, hey, fix one thing, everything's going to change. It's a multitude of things compounding to create like these issues. And until a revolution happens, there really ever isn't any change because
but
the system
I,
like,
right, but I think it's because people are not unwilling to compromise.
yeah.
Because a person on the like a conservative on the right would say, I don't believe in abortion. And there's a liberal progressive on the left who goes, there's no way we shouldn't allow abortion. It should be a human law. Women should have ability to do whatever they want with their body, and government should not intervene, right? And part of me goes, well, yeah, I agree. Government shouldn't dictate what you can do with your body because that literally is what we could be facing with the whole vaccine thing. It's like, why should government force me to take the vaccine? It's my body, and I decide what I want to do with it. So if I use that same logic, I would be a hypocrite if I said like, okay, well, but women cannot have abortion. So my compromise would be yes, I think it should be allowed. I know it's not a moral thing to do, but when it comes to constitution and like laws,
Yeah.
a government should intervene what you do with your body.
Exactly. So
So
it should exist to basically give people their individualistic rights and freedom. So you don't like abortion? Great, don't do it yourself, but you can't tell this person that they can't do it, right?
right, and that's the thing. It's like people are trying to they want to have the world to match their belief system, and
I
so they're
know.
unwilling to compromise and say, okay, guys, you want to open borders, we want closed borders. So what can we do in the middle of that? Like, do we build a wall, or we okay, or we don't build a wall, but we implement a system where you still have to go through all the paperwork and make sure nobody comes in illegally. So it's like people are unwilling to compromise. It's like everybody just wants it their way. And
Yeah. So what we need to
um,
do is, instead of doing these black and white things, I'm wrong, you're right, we need to get into a party system and a belief as a country that, hey, we want tolerance above all else. We want like individualistic freedom and rights above all else. That's what we should be holding the highest of standards. It shouldn't be my way or their way. It should be our ways. And creating a
right,
government that facilitates that is the best way to do that. And there are ways to do this. There are ways to get multiple parties so you can vote for our Senate and our House of Representatives can be multi-partied, not black and white, right? We can start implementing these things where we get people that aren't fucking rich assholes with the best connections. They're the only ways to get in. You can get the engineer that's smart, that wants to help his country out for maybe like 4 to 8 years. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to take a stint. I'll go into Congress. I'll help create some laws and stuff. No one
yeah.
thinks
I
that way
mean,
because it's fucking insurmountable right now. And it's because
well,
of
I,
our
I know what
system.
what you're saying makes sense, but you have to be realistic. All
You,
these politicians,
it's a
they don't give a
culture
fuck
change.
about they don't give a fuck about people, man.
Well, I know, and that's
All
why
they
we need
care
to
about
change
is
the systems.
I want power and I want to get paid a lot of money
I
because I'm in
know.
position of power.
Dude,
So
you
there's nothing
gotta,
you can do, man.
well, you can't. You have to change the lobbying laws so corporations can't pay for and pump in millions of dollars into only the campaigns they like. You need to change the way people can vote for people. So it's not this first past the post voting where you only get one decision. We could do something like instant runoff. There are other flaws to other voting systems, but they're all almost unanimously better than first past the post, which is what we use. And when you implement systems like this, eventually over time, yes, it's not going to happen the next election, but 10, 20 years down the road, it can look really different. When you get a whole new generation like us being able to run for office and do what we need to do and get in there and change these laws, the things will change. And I think you'll see like the Republican and Democrat parties die because they've made such asses of themselves over the past 5, 6 years that like nobody wants to give either of them the light of day.
No, I tell you, man, this conflict is it's like a cultural uh it's like a cultural conflict
I,
because
I think more people are
it,
sick of it than you think, and it's
I mean
exacerbated.
they could be, but in the end it all comes down to the same thing. It's because some people believe you're responsible for your actions and you should take like responsibility for your life and not seek help from like government or social platforms. So if your decisions lead to failure, it's your fault and nobody should be responsible for that. And there's the other side of people who say, hey, I shouldn't be responsible for all my decisions. I should be able to rely on somebody and blame other people. So I want government to help people who are broke and rich, tax all the rich so we can help all the poor. So it's like socialism versus capitalism. So that's like, you know,
There's a balance though.
one way
Like
to look at it.
there's a
There's one way to
balance.
look at that.
Yeah, but the thing is, so that's been the way for a while. I think there's definitely 100% an untapped market of people, and you look at this kind of like as a business sort of thing, but it's like there is a huge percentage of the population that is sick of both sides, and you're letting these small percentages of really loud, really influential people basically control everything because they have all the connections. Like you're saying, there's these people in this world that think it's my way or the highway, and I want this, and that's it. And then there's the people on the other side that are like, everything should belong to everyone, and you start getting these camps. But I think there's a majority of really moderate people that can grab a huge market share of this pie and create a party that's more moderate, more individualistic focused, like rights and freedoms to individuals. And people will like it more because, hey, it's going to work out for all of us. I'm going to be able to do what I want to do. I'm not going to be bothered by like the government or have laws or regulations as much. I can go to church if I want to. I can have an abortion if I want to. Whatever it is, I can do it. And then as long as we feel like we can tolerate everyone else's beliefs, systems, all this stuff, and we turn everything like individualistic focused, I think it'll go a lot further in the future than, hey, you're wrong and I'm right. Like that can't last. Like that shit is not gonna fly.
I know, man.
That ends
But
in disaster. That
at
ends
the
in
same time, like what you're describing, I agree with it. But in a realistic world, like right now, like what would you change
but
to improve
that's
this?
just
Like,
it.
well,
It's not a realistic world. It's either media focus slant bias. If you talk to anybody in the real world, what normally happens, Greg, when you talk to somebody? They're more like, yeah, like fuck, man, this all sucks. Like that's like the
well,
realistic response you get, right? From like almost everyone you talk to. That you rarely see, besides those Trump people sitting there on the corners and the crazy liberal people parading through the streets. Like rarely do you meet a person in a supermarket and they're like going nuts over this shit, right? They're more like
right.
me and you, where they're like, yeah, like, oh, I voted for Trump, but he is kind of an asshole. But you know what? It's better than what whatever's
Well,
doing
that's the
over
thing. It's like
there.
if you say all that, people on the left they're gonna fucking call you out that you are somehow I don't know a right winger racist because you
Great, ignore them.
support Trump a little bit,
They're
but you don't
us.
support like all of his stuff. It's
So
like
take Trump out of it, right? So that's what we want to do because Trump, although he did his thing, like okay, he wasn't the kindest soul ever. That was his downfall. Like people hated him so much.
yeah, he was stupid because it's like he all he had to do is read the book 48 laws of power, and in one of them it says,
Just shut up.
you just shut the fuck up,
I
dude. Like
know.
he just kept fucking talking and tweeting and like
It's not like
it's like,
people liked Biden though. They hated Trump. That's the issue here, right? It wasn't, oh,
well, I
I
mean,
love
okay,
Biden and his
hold
policies.
on,
I
but
hate Trump.
did they hate Trump or did the media make people hate Trump?
Well, no, the
Because
media
in the
made
end,
people hate him, but
exactly.
it was
So
still that.
and who owns the media? It's Democrats, and Democrats are
Yes.
sponsored by who? By Chinese.
So
So
what I'm saying is it wasn't that Trump uh like it's not that Joe Biden beat him, it's Trump lost himself, right? It was still Trump centric. So if in the future you have somebody that has the same sort of values of, hey, I'm an outsider. I am not a career politician. I do not I have been doing this my whole life. That's not what I want to focus on. I don't want to get paid in the pockets from corporations. And if you find somebody that had those same sorts of values, I think that's why a lot of people were drawn to Trump. Because he wasn't a career politician. He isn't Hillary Clinton, who's been in
right.
there, whose husband was the president, who's you become this oligarchy where Bush and now his son's in there. It's the same fucking people. It becomes like you have the same five choices from the same group of
Right.
people. You feel like
But
it's getting out of
that's
control.
exactly why they did everything to destroy Trump, because he was an outsider, and
Yeah.
instead of doing what normal politicians do, which is do everything that would help them get richer, he actually came in and said, "Okay, guys, we're no longer fucking American people over. I'm gonna give them more shit, more money, better laws for the people." And all the politicians that are all together on it, Republicans, Democrats, they go, wait a second, hold on, you can't do that. No, get the fuck out of here. So they were like, okay, we cannot have Trump in office because he's gonna destroy all our profits and backdoor deals that we created over the last, how many years.
Yeah.
So they ended up going, okay, we need to destroy Trump no matter what. We slipped up, 2016. We allowed too many people to express ideas on the internet, so that's why we lost. So now it's time that we censor people's opinions. And you could see that, like Yahoo removed their comment section. Um, dude, it's like, I know this sounds like a conspiracy theory, but it's like not. Like if you just follow everything that happened,
Yeah.
this wasn't just like
No,
an
I mean,
accident or
I
like,
100% am with you on this. Like I know corporations are too powerful at this point. And that's what I'm saying is we need to get somebody like this new movement needs to happen that is people focused, not corporation focused, people focused. You need to change these laws to give corporations less power in politics. Lobbying needs to change. Like all this shit needs to change so we can get people, normal people, somebody that has a fucking engineering degree that wants to run and help out can do it, and it's not insurmountable because he doesn't know a million people, he doesn't have a corporation
but
backing
you
him.
have to understand that getting elected is all about money.
Well, I
If you
know.
don't have the money, nobody's going to hear
right
about you
right now
because
it is. We need to
you're not
change that
advertising. Oh, how are you going to change that though?
with
How, how would you change that?
the people, with people writing to their congressman and getting people into the state representative. Like you need to win small battles here and there to eventually like launch the new movement of government that you want to have. Like it'll be slow, it'll be chipping away, but you have to elect somebody that wants to change it from the inside out. So you need to
I
find
mean,
candidates
if that
and
was
back
the
them.
case, I mean, if you think about that, it's like most. I mean, Democrats flipped the House, the Senate. They pretty much have all the control at this point.
Well,
So what are we doing wrong?
well that's like I said, you have a very big catalyst that caused this issue, which was Trump. It was just his character was his downfall. So you find somebody similar that maybe also isn't a millionaire
But again,
that's out of touch.
was it really his character?
I
Because
mean,
like if the media was unbiased, they wouldn't create all these negative articles about him and about everything that he says, everything that he tweets. Everything he does is bad. And now when you see Biden being in office, you don't see any negativity from the mainstream media at all.
You need
There's
to.
nothing that
So
says like, "Oh, Biden is bad," or like, "He farted and it smelled in a room and it's disgusting. We should kick him out of the office." Like, you don't see that kind of shit anymore.
I
That's what I'm
know it.
saying. Foreign powers are they're playing the long game. China wants to fucking take over the world. So what do? They try to divide the country because they can't win a war with United States if they use tanks and soldiers. They have no chance of winning, so they have to destroy this country from within. So what do? They take all the millions and billions of dollars that they made from all their stupid cheap manufacturing, and they just pump it into pretty much Democrats' pockets, and pretty much they do everything to kind of skew public opinion. And the Russians are on the other side doing the same thing, but they're sponsoring pretty much
Republican.
Republicans.
Oh my
And dude,
god.
hear me out. Hear me out. You might think that was crazy. I called this like a long time ago, and then like a month or two later, there's an article that says, uh, "What is the organization? I don't know if it was CIA or not NSA. One of the American organizations. They're like, it appears that Chinese are betting on Biden's victory, and Russians are betting on Trump." And I called that like 2 3 months before they said that. So it doesn't take a genius to figure this out. Russia and China, I don't know if they're working together or not. That's the only thing I don't know because I don't understand the relationship between China and Russia. Technically, they both come from like a communist background.
Yeah, maybe they're
So
doing
part
it
of me,
together.
so part of me says, okay, they're on it together, and they're both just like dividing our country. Russians are sponsoring right wingers, China is sponsoring left, and they want us to like fight each other so they can come in and fuck us over at the end. Or I don't know. I mean, maybe they don't work together. Maybe Russia has their own interest in this, and who
So
knows?
so why don't we do this? Like what okay, there's all these powers. I understand exactly what you're talking about. It feels insurmountable when you basically have large tech companies, Google, Apple, you have all these platforms, and then you have these politicians and media companies all banding together to basically silence one side and only twist their story, right?
Yeah,
So why don't we make as a society, as individualistic people, why don't we band together, create our own movement? Because I feel like a lot of people will rally around the cause of, hey,
but
individualistic freedoms, not corporatism, but individualism, banding together, tolerating one another, living together, helping each other out. Like, why can't we come up under all of this that's happening?
okay,
Create
I
a
I
movement,
see I see where you're going with this, but it's
not
gonna
a
sound like
violent one.
I know I'm gonna sound like a pessimist, but
A lot of
technically
people do
that's
right now. I'm saying that.
well, that's what I'm saying. It's like even if you try to influence people to think differently, all these like pretty much progressive powers, they're gonna do anything to pretty much because they have control of the media. So they're gonna do everything to smear your movement. That's why they're already like trying to destroy Republicans because they know they have the upper hand. So they
Well,
and they
okay, if
understand like human psychology. So you saw how quickly and how badly they made this like Capitol riot sound, right? When we had all those like Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, uh, you know, riots. Nobody was saying shit. Nobody got fired. Nobody was trying to, look up the pictures of the people who were protesting and getting them fired. Nobody was doing any of that shit. As soon as right wingers did something, look at that. We broke into one government building. We are the craziest motherfuckers, deranged
but they were waiting
terrorists.
for that. Like with all this stuff, like, and we were calling them out on it. Like
Well,
left wing
that's that
people
they
were
played
waiting for
us.
Republicans to do one thing so they could jump on it and blow it way out of proportion.
Well, that's because and they control the media, so that's exactly what happened. The
Yeah.
media is just pumped it up even more. That's
So
what I'm
here's the
saying,
thing:
man.
if okay, they're silencing Republicans. If a new movement comes up and they do the same to them, people have got to catch on that, okay, now you have a left-wing institution that is just silencing people at whim, and that is
Oh
not
yeah,
okay.
it is
That becomes
slowly
basically
happening.
fascism. That's basically
I mean,
fascism with extra
Poland.
steps.
See, people in Poland are seeing this, and Polish politicians are seeing it, and they're already passing legislation in Poland to make sure that you're not allowed to be like banned or censored. But it takes a certain amount of like, I don't know how to say that. Like
I
you need to be able to see
yeah.
it
I
because
know, and that's why I'm saying let's see it now. Like why can't we together and not do it from the Republican side because that's the side that they're trying to attack, trying to put down. Do it from an independent side. Come up and say, "Hey, we are the people. You can't silence us because we are the country. Like you can't do this. Like we see Republicans and Democrats fighting each other and just being asshats. It's like, and we're sick of it. Like we're gonna come up together. We're going to make the changes that we want to make. And if you start silencing us because we want what we actually want, well, now you are the tyrant, and it becomes blatantly obvious. And then they just get put down. We have to use our judicial system, our court systems. To, like if they start banning people and doing all this stuff, we have to take that shit to court and fight it together and
judicial system,
crowdsource
but
that.
judicial system is already paid for by Democrats, dude. Do
Not
you really not think
necessarily.
that all these people work together?
I don't think so. I think once you get into like Supreme Court and stuff,
How
it's a
many
little different.
Republicans have turned on Trump once that whole Capitol riot happened?
They're just trying to
Dude,
save their
everybody
fucking.
fucking ran
They're just
for their
trying to
lives.
save their shit because Trump's
They
going out of power.
ran. They were
I
pussies.
know
Like,
because they want to get elected again. That's the issue here, right?
well, I don't. That might be part of it, but in reality, I think it's because,
They just
like I
distance
said,
themselves from the
they
toxic time bomb, dude.
all these politicians work together. So in the end, even Republicans didn't like Trump, dude.
Yeah,
They didn't like
oust.
him. They just like kind of pretended that they're on his side, but in reality, they were scared too because he was firing people left and right.
Yeah,
So
dude. So Anya
I'm telling
joined.
you,
She
man,
wants to
this
listen.
is like this is bigger to just put in like in a one sentence.
Well, that's why I'm saying, as a society, we need to start making the change now. If we want to see the change down the road, 10 years down the road, 20 years down the
Okay,
road, we
okay,
need to
Matt.
start
So
doing it
what
now.
change are you gonna do personally? What are you gonna do?
Why don't we start by putting out like
Wait, what?
videos and shit and talking about this stuff online to gather movement so
Okay, go do
we could
it.
say, hey,
As
let's
soon as you
focus.
start, YouTube is gonna ban you for controversial topics.
Dude, they can suck.
Well,
They
that's
can
what I'm
suck it.
saying, dude. There's no
They
hope.
can't
There's
ban
no
you for
win.
talking about this. There's no way.
Yes, they
And if
can.
they do,
Yes, they
you
can.
go somewhere else, man. There's ways to get it out there. Like if you band together, if you find there's already other littler movements. There are independent candidates. There are things like that. If you go to them when they're in their grassroots and you say, "Hey, we need to gain more support. I need to talk to my neighbors about this. I need to talk to other people. I'll put YouTube videos up. I'll do all this stuff to get as much eyeballs on it as possible." So then together if they see you go down, they're gonna be like, okay, this shit's actually getting out of hand. Like this person wanted to get people together. He wanted to create like a party that was for people, that's for like us individualistic, whether you're right wing, left wing, like orange wing, whatever. It doesn't fucking care. Like he cares about me as a person, and he wants our country to be better. That is, everyone can get on board with that. Who doesn't want to have our country be the best, to help and support people, whether they're doing well or struggling a bit? Like all this stuff. There's ways we can do this, and if we band
Yeah.
together, we will outnumber them. We will outnumber those small majority that have power right now, and eventually they can't ignore it because you're saying, "Hey, we are the people. We're the majority. This is what we want."
I don't know, man. I feel like it's a waste of your
If you give
lifetime.
up though, it's like you let them win. You can't do that. You can't
But
just
you
let
see,
these
you
fuckers
or
win.
if you say you let them win, you already admit that there is an enemy that you're fighting, and there's no unity.
Baby, you sound like Greta.
What is that?
You don't know who Greta is? Just look her up. You'll know.
Greta.
You'll know what I'm talking about. The environmental, like 13-year-old,
Oh,
whatever.
Greta Thunberg, the little dumbass kid.
I know. I
Um,
can't watch her.
yeah, what happened to your mic, dude?
It's Anya's sitting in the same
Oh,
room with me with
okay.
headphones. She wants to listen to our conversation. She loves this shit. She
Awesome.
eats this for breakfast.
Yeah. Dude,
So,
okay,
okay,
but I asked you a question. You didn't really answer. Like, what? Okay, let's say you're working alone right now. Like, what do you do to start that? What
it-
you believe in?
start small. You gotta start with
YouTube channel.
yeah. I mean,
Okay.
that's step
And
one.
what you reach? What is your reach gonna be? Like, how many people do you think you're gonna start watching your content, actually believing what you're saying?
You don't know until you try, man. I mean, there has to be people
And
out
do
there
you
that are
really
fed up
care
with this
to do
shit.
that? Like, is your life like? Do you have nothing else to do in your life than worry about this shit?
I mean, okay, what is better than trying to make your country a better place so people in
I
general
don't
are
know, like
happier,
hobbies, like
safer?
realizing your
My hobby is
talents.
video
I don't
games right
know.
now. You don't think this is better than just video games?
Well, I don't know, man. It's like
Maybe. I don't know.
you're gonna waste your life away to fight
Why is
something
it a
that
waste
doesn't.
though?
Because it's a waste of time.
Why is it a waste? Would you like imagine telling Martin Luther King it was a waste to like fight for civil rights? Like
It
that's
was.
basically what you're
What did he
saying.
get out of it? He got shot.
I mean,
What
yeah,
did he get
but
out of it? He got shot.
overall things are better for people of color because of
Dude,
him, dude.
I know I sound like a pessimist, but I'm telling you,
Yeah,
dude, it's like, what's the point?
but you are now part of like now it's on people like you who just like they wilt at this first sign of resistance, and then it's like you're doing exactly what the corporations want you to do. You're wilting at their whim. Like that's exactly what they're banking on. They're like, people are gonna be like, it's not worth it. We can't do it. We can do whatever the fuck we want. Why? Because they won't push back. Like they'll be like, fuck it. How can I fight Google? How can I
Well,
do this?
what happened to
Like
all the
fuck.
people who believed in their message? They stormed the Capitol and now they're branded as terrorists. So imagine
There are better ways to do it.
if I stood for what I believed in. I was like, yeah, this election was stolen. And I just was like, I'm storming the Capitol because I'm tired of the politicians. And next thing I know, I'm fucking branded a terrorist. I get fired from my job. I get my social media accounts frozen, and I'm pretty much rejected from society because I did everything that it took to follow my intuition and fight for what I believe in.
I think there
See,
are better ways to do this. I mean, okay, yes, maybe there's some sacrifice required. Like the fucking Revolutionary
yes,
War
of course.
between us and
Everything in
England.
life is a sacrifice.
That it's the same situation where everyone's like, "You're fucking crazy. The king's gonna murder you all." We wouldn't have this country if we didn't have people stand up for what they actually believed in.
And you know what
So
was funny? When Democrats said that an angry mob doesn't represent what this country is all about, even though an
it's
angry mob is
exactly
what
what
created
it
this
is.
country because
I
they
know.
overthrew a tyrannical government from like England, you know?
Yeah.
So it's to me, it's all fucking
So
bullshit, dude.
listen, like, okay, it's that is now Revolutionary War happened. That is not what that we don't need to repeat what happened thousands of years ago, or sorry, hundreds of years ago. Yes, okay, that is how this country was built and founded. It was literally a revolution against a government that they did not see eye to eye with. But there are better ways to do it nowadays. There are more
Mm,
peaceful ways, more tactical ways to do it. If you get the people themselves on your side, which I believe most people think like we do, where they're not one side or the other. They're sitting in the middle and they're going, "What the fuck is going on? And why can't we just be fucking normal?" Like I believe there's a lot of people with that mentality right now. And it
I mean,
greatly
true.
outnumbers the people on the left silencing everyone and doing all this crazy shit and the people on the right that are saying like yelling, "I'm not a terrorist, fuck you, you're fascist piece of shit." Like, there's these two people on both sides. They're going nuts at each other right now. I believe there's way more people between those two that are saying, "Can I please have a government that just gives me defense from other countries that can help if I'm struggling or something? Yes, it gives me some help financially or whatever it is. Ones that protect my rights, ones that enable me to do what I need to do when I want to do it, like those sorts of things. Like a very simplistic
I don't know,
view.
man. To me, this sounds like just like wishful thinking.
Wishful thinking, what the fuck?
Because
Dude,
it's not gonna work.
dude, life
It's not
is
gonna
what you
work.
make it. Like, it will never be unless you think and do and want it. Like, all these laws and shit, the way that they were created, there was some ambitious fuck out there that wanted something and he went and did it and he made it, and that's how it happened. So if we all do that together now,
I mean,
we can
okay,
change it.
it always starts from just one person having an idea and spreading that idea to other people, and then eventually you have 20 people, then you have 30 people, then you have 100 people, and then those 100 people tell other 100 people, and then that's how the movement grows. But A, it takes time. Two, like you said, it takes sacrifice, it takes resources, and then you have to fight against all these things that the other side is doing to fuck you over, pretty much smear you. Um, social media companies pretty much writing an article about you saying that you are a racist movement, even though you're not.
Great. So
But
you
because you
just
have a
fight.
different
You
point of
fight.
view, they already try to destroy you before you even get there.
So okay. So listen. So
Dude, I'm telling you, there's no win.
there's so many
There's no
opportunities
win.
to get your point of view out there over media. Like, if a media says something about you, sit down and address it and be even keeled and even minded. The reason Trump went fucking sideways is because the media would say something and it would light him up and he'd say stupid shit back, and then you're just going back and forth. They're going, see what he said, he is insane. Like, Trump didn't help himself out. If you sit down and you just address things, clear the air, people will know what you're about. There's a lot of ability to say exactly what you think and have a medium and a long form discussion. You can put a video out that's an hour long and you can go step by step. This is why I think this. This is why I want to do this. This is my goal. This is why I want you to join me in my goal. This is the end goal. This is what I want to do. And it's not just these little blurbs. And if people have access to that and they're able to see that and read it and listen to it, then they'll go, yeah, you know what? This guy makes sense because it sounds like I'm sitting down and I'm talking to a normal person, not a 10-second media bite that's calling him insane or racist. I know he's not racist. So I'm listening to him right now. Like, I see what he's doing for his community. I see what he's trying to do for all of us. Like, when you do things like that, you just fight that sort of, okay, slandering or one-wordedness with just more of your own information, and you let people decide, and people will see. Like, they can see through stupid bullshit. A lot of people are catching on now. You're telling me right now, you're like, dude, whoops, the internet went down. They silenced me, babe. Holy crap. No, it's me. It's us. Our Wi-Fi went down. Are you talking to Greg right now? Oh my gosh. Dude, they heard me. Too much talk about revolution. I can't believe that just happened. Greg's like, see, I told you. Can you hear me? He can probably hear me through your headphones. Greg, they silenced me. You're right. This is insane. No, it's like fucking shitty internet. Wow. Okay. Well, that's a weird coincidence for my internet to go down. So you're able to keep going because you're on cellular, babe. Dang. So what do I do? I guess I'll join through here. I'm sorry. Can you mute your headset and I'll talk through here? Yeah. I'll go. Give me a sec. I'll wrap this up. Yeah. Hold on. Yo, can you hear me? Is that better, Greg? Can you hear me now? Dude, they silenced me.
I'm telling you, man.
You're right, bro.
They're already trying to sabotage your movement, bro.
I can't believe. So, okay, we can pick this conversation up later. Anya needs to go to bed, but I'm just saying, I think together we can make a change if it's really necessary.
Fuck.
Are we seriously starting a movement right now?
Maybe. Who knows? Somebody has to. People will join in. Like, I think people are tired of this back and forth black and white stuff, man. Yeah, I'm just saying support. You can send support to people that align with your views. That's what I'm saying, but you need to get involved. You can't just watch it and go like, "Oh fuck, it's insurmountable." You got to join. You got to help.
I don't know, man.
When I watch people get mad at me.
I'm not I don't get mad at you, babe. I tell you that most of the stuff you watch is biased one way or another, and you got to be
No, no shit.
careful
There's
of that.
nothing out that's not biased. Like,
I know.
but I'd rather watch someone
I know.
right leaning than
All
CNN.
right.
I don't know, man. It's like if you read, I already said this, but at some point I think, but if you read what happened during um, Mexican Revolution, I think it was pretty much a war between conservatives and liberals, and what happened was because the liberal government started creating some laws or things that the conservatives didn't like, and that's how the war started. How like similar is that to what's happening right now? Like we're really close to getting there.
That's why we need to avoid it by bringing in all the level-headed people in the middle to say, okay, we need to bridge this gap here. You guys are starting to go nuts
Well, yeah,
on either side. It's getting a little out of hand, and this is not what we want our country to devolve into. We want to
right.
be together. We want to be better than everybody else. We
But the
want
thing is, like the people who are in the middle are usually very scarce, and that's the problem.
when I say middle, I mean that's a wide spectrum of middle. I'm talking like yeah, okay, you get extreme left and extreme right, and you have these maybe 10% on each of those sides. There's a whole 80% in the middle I'm talking about. And yes, the
I don't
1%,
know.
the
I don't
percent
know if
that's
it's in the
closer to the
middle, dude.
right,
I
well,
mean,
no, it's not.
look at the election results, dude.
Well, I'm
Like
saying,
if people are truly in the middle, then we would have a lot more vote for the Libertarian Party, and
well,
we didn't have that
here's
much.
the thing. This is why that doesn't happen because they know a vote for the Libertarian Party is a wasted vote because of our voting system, which is why that needs to change. That's what I'm talking about. These systems create these scenarios where okay, there's somebody in the middle, and you have exact middle, right? There's going to be a guy one tick to the right and one guy one tick to the left. Technically, those two are more in line with their own beliefs than they are with anybody on the right or anybody on the left. But because of the way this works, the guy one tick to the right votes all the way right because he just is one tick away from liking the guy all the way on the left a little bit more. And then that guy on the left is doing the same thing there. So you get these spectrums where these two guys in the middle have more in common than either party, but they end up voting for separate parties because it's technically closer to what they believe and they know that's where their vote will count the most. And that's why we have this
Right.
discourse because all these people in the middle are disfranchised and their only options are extreme this way or extreme that way. They don't have these options in the middle that are normal. And that's what I'm saying is there's a huge chunk of people in that middle that probably can find more common ground than these extremes on either end.
Right, but also like that's another problem is like when we have all these candidates, it's always really the media that's picking your pretty much your person for you. Like,
That's why we got to fight this. That's why we got to not let them make these
but
types
again,
of
how do you
decisions.
fight that? There's 10 candidates and they have debates, and then
That's only because that's what they let you see.
Well, yeah, yeah.
So when you take it out of control, like that's all they let you see, and that's the Democrats only pick Democrat primaries. You need to be a Democrat and registered Democrat to even get involved in their own primaries. That's what I'm
Well,
saying.
yeah.
And the people
I,
that are actually registered versus those who voted, like small percentage, like I'm saying. The people that made Biden the candidate, like there's a small percentage of the people that actually voted for him as president. So people only voted, like I said, because that was just their party affiliation. So there are things we need to systematically start changing, and we need to start changing them now. So in the future, 10 and 20 years down the road, we don't have just these two options anymore. We have a third option, a fourth option, something more in the middle, something more moderate, something more geared towards individualists and like people and what they want and their own like.
but there's rarely a conflict between like three different belief systems. It's always two for the most
Well,
part.
that's why you don't run on social issues. Like you come up and you tell them this is how we're structuring this. This is a party not based on social issues. We're not going to care what you do as a person. Like that is going to be for states to decide. We're going to give more power to the states for that, so you can go and vote locally on things like abortion and all this other stuff. Like we're going to leave that up to you, the individuals, to decide. That's not what we're going to be here for. We're going to be here for
Okay,
specific things.
would you say you're more in the middle?
I'd probably lean like it depends. It depends on the issue, man. I'm back and forth on a
Okay,
ton of
okay,
things.
okay. So what are some things that you thought Trump did well, and what are some things you think he did wrong, or like policy wise?
Policy wise. So Trump, I liked the way he cut finances up and stuff. I like that a lot better. Like I am more I would guess financially conservative. I like him making it more like business oriented when it came to deals. You're not just going in to give money for no reason. Like there needs to be a purpose, there needs to be a sort of direction. And if we're overfunding something, you have to stop and ask other countries, hey, why are you not putting in as much as we are? Like I like that sort of aspect, especially internationally.
Okay,
Like trade deals and stuff, I think he did a much better job on. So financially, I think he did well. I like him not being a career politician, so I liked him coming out. Although I didn't like him being a millionaire because he's still in a group of people that I think are what I'm talking about right now, which is hey, there is a small percentage of people and pool that can become these people that make laws and create laws for the majority of people. And it's these rich, well connected people, and they're all in the same circle. It's the same people. He's taken pictures with Bill Clinton and Hillary back in the 90s and stuff. Like he knows that they all know each other. It's just a circle. It seems like an impenetrable sort of oligarchy that you can't get in. So that's one thing I didn't like about him is he still was a millionaire, billionaire, completely out of touch of a normal everyday person, right? He has never lived
mm,
the life of a normal person. So yes, he's doing all these things. He's trying to give back, but he never really truly understood the plight of a working person, right?
right.
Like so yes, he did try and help in some instances, but he also played that too because he knew there was a demographic there for the taking. So he played to that really hard, and he knew they would be loyal because they need that, right? That's like the whole reason for him becoming so popular was he tapped into this market that was struggling. They were at a point where they needed the like what he promised and what he tried to do, and so it worked. So I mean,
Uh, okay, I guess the reason I asked you this question is because I wanted to find out what makes Trump not a president who's in the middle. Like what policies makes him a right winger, or I don't know, somebody
no, I
who's leaning to the right.
I don't think he's and you can see obviously he was not part of the Republican Party. The only reason he ran is because it was the only way to get the machine to work for him. That's the
Well,
only
yeah,
reason he was a Republican is because the Democrats already had this person, person they wanted, which was Hillary. They had this target. He wasn't able to walk in there because they wouldn't have chosen him because it was Hillary's turn in quotations, right? So the Republicans really didn't have anyone, so he was able to use the party machine for his own purposes, right?
Well, I always knew that running as an independent is never going to work, and I'm
Oh
pretty
yeah.
sure Trump knew that. So he is an independent actually.
No,
I'm pretty sure he's an independent,
he's
and
definitely more
he used the
independent and
Republican
moderate.
Party just to win because that
For
was the
sure.
only way to do it.
Yes. And no, and I never said he wasn't. The only reason I'm saying like it's not that I didn't like Trump, it's he it's his character, right? That becomes the issue. I was saying, "Hey, let's find somebody that was like Trump who was an outsider, more moderate, like actually thinks about some decisions, doesn't just freeform do whatever he wants, right? And give him somebody that actually has decent character so the media can't just shit on him for being fat, orange, misogynistic, whatever, right? Like there were too many
But
things that they could
do you
latch
think
on to.
media actually thinks that, or do you think they got paid to think that?
I mean, okay, when you have a sound clip of him saying grab him by the pussy, that's not the best look, right? Yeah, sure,
I mean,
Biden
yeah,
sniffs
but
women
he
and
said that,
touches
but
12-year-old girls, but
that's what I'm saying. He said that in an entertainment. He was an entertainer, and he said that in a show like a
yeah,
reality
and it's
show.
still something he said though, so it's like it's not the best, right? Like,
Yeah,
okay,
but
get a Obama. You know how Obama is more like he's just very clean cut, very like droll.
yeah,
He's not
well,
exciting. He's not in entertain. Right? He's very just like even keeled,
he just gives
calm,
you he
cool,
just gives
collected.
you like right. He gives you like cool speeches, but in the end, that doesn't mean you're a good leader if you just make cool speeches.
I know, but what I'm saying is Obama was very like he he was the polished person that people wanted to see, right? He was more feel good. He was very like, "Hey man, this is a guy that you can sit on a couch with and have a conversation with." You're right, Trump was an entertainer and eventually it came back to bite him in the ass after the first 4 years was over because he got people so riled up and worked up that it worked against him eventually. It got him in there in the first place, sure, but eventually it turned against him. So you get somebody that is similar in sort of like those policies and that sort of
Yeah, we need a hybrid. We need a Trump
yeah,
with Obama's speaking skills.
savviness. But that's what I'm saying, right? You get Trump that isn't like on Twitter 24/7 yelling stupid stuff and doesn't have this massive ego that only a multi-billionaire that has run his corporation since 25 can have, right? You get someone
Right.
else and then you get this nicer mix of okay, now we're all kind of on the same page, right? Even Democrats might be like, hey man, I might not like everything he does, but like at least he's not trying to go to war with Korea, right, like there's or tweeting out stupid shit about kafafa or whatever it is, right? So you get somebody that knows how to play that other side of the game a little bit better and you start getting a hybrid that I think all these moderate people can gather around, right? That's what we want to find is like this nice middle thing.
Yeah, well, that's really hard to find.
We'll see, man. We'll see. I mean,
And
there are some
the thing is, like media will always do that. They will ignore anybody who's in the middle,
yeah.
give
Like
them little
dude,
coverage, and
Like Tulsi Gabbard to me is a very level-headed. Like she's Democrat,
yeah, she
but
was the best out of all of them.
dude, she's very level-headed. I like her attitude. She's not totally like one-sided. She was in the military, so she knows like the kind of Republican side of things and like more conservative thing. Like she knows what's going on, and I think she is a good candidate. Although I might lean different directions on a little things, she's still more moderate and in the middle, and somebody I would back than these crazy people, right? But the Democrats don't
But
give her the time of day because she
yeah,
doesn't
they
align with
and they
their stupid stuff.
yeah, and they called her a Russian agent. That's what I'm saying, dude. You can't be in the middle
It's
because you're
so
gonna get
dumb.
destroyed.
You just need okay.
They're gonna smear the fuck out of you.
You get destroyed because the backing's not there yet. That's what I'm saying. You need to help build the
No,
movement
they
up.
destroy you because they have all the money and they control all the aspects of our lives, all the media, all the entertainment, all the Hollywood.
God, you
If you look
sound
at
like it's like fucking like it's just like some movie and you're like the
hey,
post-apocalyptic world and you're like there's no
it's okay,
hope.
man. It's okay, man. You can believe whatever you want to believe. I'm just telling you what I see and how I see it. And
I'm not saying I don't believe that stuff cuz it is there and it is why I'm having this conversation with you now cuz I also see it. I'm just saying that there is hope to change it. You're just saying it's insurmountable.
Okay, yeah. I guess I'm just a negative person. Maybe I don't know. It's just to me there's no hope.
I think we both see the same thing, and when I look at it, I see, okay, things need to change, and this is how we can change it. And when you see it, you're like, we're all gonna fucking die, man. Like,
No. The way I see it is like whatever you're saying you're trying to do, I don't think it's possible because of
yeah,
the things I see that are happening.
okay.
So it might sound negative, but I'm just like focusing.
Well, that's why
The
we gotta
reason I
stop
say
it
the things I
now before
say,
it does become like we see the warning signs. A lot of people do. I think that's why people are freaking out on both sides a little bit because the warning signs are there. You're talking about I see it, you see it. So we need to do something now because yeah, maybe in 10 years if we don't do anything, then it gets really insurmountable. Like can't change anything without bloody revolution type stuff.
well,
And that's you never want to get to that point.
but it always happens. If you look throughout history, there was always violence because some people disagreed with each other. It wasn't because of anything else. It was really just like, hey, you guys want to do this, we want to do this,
Just
so
small,
it's either
loud
my way or the
minorities.
highway. And most people say, well, highway, we're gonna do it our way, so we're gonna fight, we're gonna shoot, we're gonna
God,
draw our swords and fight to death for what we believe in.
draw thy sword.
So
God,
I
dude.
know it I see where you're going, but me personally, like I just don't see how we can win because here's why. Here's one reason why. I'm pretty sure Republicans were aware that they're being censored. So what did they do? They started questioning Google. They started questioning Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook. They kept asking them like, "Hey, are you guys censoring conservatives? Are you doing this?" And what did these companies say? Obviously, they say, "Well, we know nothing about that. What are you talking about? Do you have any proof? Like, we know nothing. We're not censoring anybody, but we all know that they are."
Yeah.
So Republicans did everything they could legally. They took them for a hearing in front of Senate under perjury, and nothing came out of it. So that's the only thing they were able to actually do towards that cause, where it's like we're seeing censorship um, and all these corporations having too much power. So we need to question them and we need to put pressure on them to make them stop. So what do these companies do? They just kind of like ignore it, or they just give you like half answers, like, "Oh, I don't know, we don't understand our algorithm," or like, I don't know what my algorithm does, but I have to look it over with my team." I mean, did you listen what Zuckerberg was saying? Like, "Oh yeah, that might have been a thing, but I'm not sure. Like, I can't tell what's going on in my own
It's
company."
just crazy because
Basically,
how do you get these people like it is so hard for a company like yes there is a general like purpose and direction but I mean how can the CEO like if it doesn't come from him who does it come from where there are policies set in place to literally silence like one group of people
well, all
and
these
they're
decisions come from the top because some group is paying him to do it. Do you understand? It's like
yeah but it's like
somebody
you're
pays him because Democrats lost the 2016 election. They said, okay,
I could get if
we're
it's
gonna
for their
pay.
own selfish reasons, but to be that coordinated across
Oh
all
yeah,
these
they are.
companies,
They are. I'm telling you, man. They go, hey, Mark, because of your platform, a lot of conservatives and right wingers were able to exchange information. And that's why we lost. That's why they elected Trump. We need you to make sure people cannot exchange information, silence them, so that way we can push our agenda through mainstream media and we can convince more people to vote for Biden. And that's kind of what happened. Look at all the censorship that happened. They started banning people. They started banning Alex Jones, then all the other conservative hosts. They started like censoring them. And now what happens? Now they're censoring anybody who is remotely like trying to support Republicans in
that
the.
parlor thing does scare me the most. That's like
Yeah,
that's
exactly,
something where it's
dude.
like it's a platform, and because what people were able to communicate on it. To this is what I was saying. Okay, so parlor, they should be taking this to court and saying, hey. You telling me that I have to censor people on my platform is like saying that Starbucks needs to make sure nobody goes in there and talks about it as well.
Well, no, because Amazon is a private company and they provide a service, and that service comes with terms of service. So if you don't follow those terms, they are legally allowed to say we don't want you on our platform. It's like if
Well,
if you
yeah,
invite somebody to your house and those people come to your house and they start shooting on your yard and scare the shit out of people, should the people who are shooting sue you and say you can't kick me out of your house. I'm allowed. You like invited me over. That means I'm allowed to shoot on your yard, and I don't care what that means to other people.
no, but what I'm saying is Parlor, so they should be able to set their own terms of service that says, yes, people can say whatever they want, and we shouldn't be liable for people gathering and communicating amongst themselves using our platform. So, say you have two terrorists and they talk to each other on platform and they plan a bombing together. What's happening is they're saying that's basically what can happen. So that's why Parler's dangerous, which is why we have to shut them down. But that's the same as these two terrorists going into a Starbucks talking about the same thing in a corner, and and now Starbucks is liable because those two people were able to have that conversation in that establishment. When Starbucks would be like, "What are you fucking talking about? How am I held liable for these two people coming in and doing that on their own? I can't be monitoring this all the time." So Parler should be able to have the same sort of defense, saying, "Hey, these people can come in and talk about whatever they want. We're not liable for them to have a platform to to each other. Like we're just providing the service, just like Starbucks provides a place to meet. We're providing an online place to meet. That doesn't mean we're responsible for things that happen because they met and talked to each other. That's what
Right, but
you should be
in the
arguing."
end, still, I know that makes sense, but again, Amazon is providing service to Parler. They're providing a service. They're a private company, and they're allowed to do whatever they want.
So basically, Amazon is why they were shut down because Amazon can say, "Hey, we don't like what you're doing, Parler."
Yeah, they're basically saying, "Hey, you're our client, but the things that happen on your
So the
platform
people
have a
with Parler
negative."
basically need to buy their own equipment, set it up in a fucking basement, and then
Yeah,
go from there, and then
and
they'll
that
be fine.
they kind of did already with, funny enough, a Russian hosting service.
Oh shit.
So, um, but yeah, it's like it's from a legal standpoint, it's all legit. It's like if you don't want somebody to have, it's like posting a sign on your door that says like, if you don't wear a shirt or shoes, you
Okay,
refuse the service.
I get that, and
So they're saying, okay, you are our customer, and as a customer, we reserve the right to like remove you from our customer list if you do something that is negative. And in your case, your platform promoted terroristic acts, people saying they want to kill Michael Pence, and that shouldn't be happening. And you did nothing to address it.
yeah,
So, so their defense was, okay, but we can't control all these people what they say all the time. Like it's
I
impossible.
I get that, and okay, if it's
So then
Amazon,
hold on.
fucking,
So Amazon then says, well, if you want to stay on our platform, you're gonna have to implement some sort of AI that's gonna control all that.
and they're like, no,
And Parler is like, no, we're not gonna do that
yeah.
because that's technically what Twitter is doing. They have an AI and they just kind of delete stuff it doesn't like. So yeah, it's like you can't win, dude. That's what I'm saying. That you might think I'm negative, but it's like, what do you? The only alternative is to, okay, create your own server. I don't know, host it in your fucking basement. I don't know.
Yep. Well, it starts in the grassroots, Greg, in people's basements and. So okay,
I mean,
here's the thing.
I'm pretty sure if the other side invests the money in the infrastructure and all that, it could happen. I'm not saying that it won't, because if there's another like side like of like rich people on the right side, and they go, okay, we need to fight back. So what do? We need to set up our own sort of hosting service.
Yeah.
We need to set up our own like social platforms.
So here's the thing: we're getting back to right versus left again. So I guess my thing is this. Okay, in the '80s, when AT&T became a monopoly, it was broken up because they realized, hey, these are utilities that people need. They are public utilities, things that can't be monopolized. We need to split this up or put regulations on you because this is now becoming like people need phones. Like people need to communicate with each other. It's becoming a thing that is a necessity. It's now a utility. It's like water, it's like electricity. We're getting to that
Right.
point now with internet. We're getting to that point now with these platforms, these social platforms where, okay, if this is the only way that you can get your words out, that you can reach the people you need to reach, it needs to be regulated not by private companies that can make whatever whimsical decision they want anymore. It is now a product of the people, and you have now gone from a private entity to a utility. When you get your news through these things and all these things and information and
Well,
sources,
yeah. So I agree with that, and but that's a question I had in my head for a long time, and I couldn't answer it to myself. Where do we draw the line between government running things and companies running things? Because if let's say just let's take example of Twitter, right? Twitter is a platform that allows you to say whatever you want. Technically, it gives you open discourse. We all know people get censored, but hold on. So if we gave Twitter to the government, then the government would have the power to kind of censor things, right? Because they would be in control of Twitter. They would own it.
but
So
it should be the
they
opposite. It should be the government should have it to keep it open freely. That the point isn't to like have the give it to the government to restrict it further. It should be give to the government so that they can place rules and not censor anyone anything. They can monitor it. If somebody's typing in the word bomb a million times, they can go see it and say,
but that's
okay,
the
maybe
thing,
we
man.
should
It's like
check this out.
you can't trust the government ever. This is why we have
Would
the
you
Second
rather
Amendment.
have the government or Twitter decide these things though?
Well, that's exactly what I'm
So
asking. It's like
technically, the government should be the people and the people making decisions, but is a problem where the government and the corporations are in league together, so it probably doesn't fucking matter at this point. Like you're
well, that's
right,
what I'm saying. It's like government, like politicians and the people in power are bought by businesses.
but
So
there's the hope that in the future maybe that isn't the case. So in the hands of the government, you have and it's harder to make changes and regulations through government because it's so
this is why a lot of
slow.
people say we need term limits, because
Well, yeah,
if we had term limits, then there
you
wouldn't
get
be enough
fresher
time for
people.
these politicians to go, hey, I'm gonna be in power for like the next 20 years, so I'm just gonna make all these deals to make myself rich.
Yeah.
If your term ended like every 2 or 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
you would just go, okay, I have a job for 4 years and I have to make best decisions for the country, and I'm getting a salary for it of, I don't know, 100,000 per year. So I better do this right, otherwise, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
like
No, I agree.
this is my job.
That's part of a change I want to make. That's what I'm saying. When you get a movement like this, there are things in here that we can change to make changes in the future. If we can get in and we can propose term limits, if we can propose age limits, like I don't think people over 65 should be running this country. I think
Why?
they're too old. I think they're out of touch
But
with the
but
majority of the
age
country.
gives you experience and it gives you knowledge
No, it
and
doesn't. It
it
doesn't
makes
give
you
you
more
jack
wise.
shit. Nuh-uh.
It
No. It's
well,
not guaranteed.
yes, no, it's not guaranteed, but also
Why aren't all these 65-year-olds becoming tech moguls and starting companies and being billionaires? Like, why is it all the young 25, 30-year-old people?
well, yeah, because the young people have
Dude,
a different set of skills and they grew up on a different set of like,
it's
instructions.
ambition. It's ambition. It's being young. These guys are in office. They've been in there too long. They're making decisions. They're going to die in 10 years. They're making decisions that
Okay,
people that are
so who
20
would you
years
take
old have to
advice
leave.
from? Warren Buffett, who's like a 60, 70-year-old dude who's been investing his whole life, or a 20-year-old dude from college that just graduated?
I understand that in that case, that's Warren Buffett, but I'm just saying age does not always equal
Well, yeah,
experience all the time.
it's not.
And
I
in the
know.
case of politics, it's more like you'll find the opposite is true most of the time. These guys are set in their ways. They're entrenched with all these fucking things that we just talked about with these corporations in their pockets, like all these things. They're not going to make any sweeping changes. They're not going to make any crazy changes because they're fine with the status quo because it's what they've been doing the past 20, 30, 50 fucking years. And they're going to die anyway, so they don't give a fuck.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, so yeah, I think age limits. I don't know if I would agree on that. I mean, yes, I agree with some of it, um, but I think as a rule, it shouldn't disqualify people who are of age. But definitely term limits, because then that gives you a bigger rotation of people with different ideas.
You
You
know
switch
the
somebody
average
every
age of a senator is like 62 or some shit, dude. Isn't that
yeah.
insane? I
I
actually
guess. I
looked it
mean,
up. The House is a little bit younger, but the average age of a senator. Hold on, I'm looking it up again right now.
I mean,
67 years, the median. The median age of a senator, serving senator, is
but
currently
that's the thing. But
67
again,
years.
like that example I gave you, Warren Buffett versus 20-year-old college
I
kid.
agree.
Who do you think
Yes.
would be able to run the country better? A 20-year-old who just graduated, or somebody who's been in the office, being political with all these politicians for, like, let's say, the last 40 years?
I agree that it's Warren Buffett 100%. But there is also a sweet spot I'm trying to find here with the government where it's like, hey, let's get some more 40-year-old, 50-year-old people in there than 70 plus. Okay, that are just and the issue stems from these career politicians. They've been in there since the 60s and the 70s. They're still in there, the same position.
But then the argument can be made is like, well, Trump has never been a politician, and he stepped in, and technically he had fresh ideas, but all the whole establishment didn't like that, so
It's
they
because it's
kicked
all
him
these
out.
old
So,
people in their old ways that won't change. I'm telling you, it's the
right.
issue.
So one thing we can definitely agree is the term limits, because
I
if we
agree.
limit how long people can be in the office, they kick them out after 2 or 4 years, and then we have a bigger rotation of people, and they have different ideas, they have different
You
approaches,
get a better
and
sample of the population. You get people that are
yeah.
maybe like, hey man, you know what? I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna do like 4 years of public service. I really want to just try and help my country out for a couple years. Then I'll go back to like doing my job or like I'll find something in my field. Like I want more people like that in like
Yeah,
making rules and laws and making
but also,
changes.
there's also like this argument that can be said is, if you're being a politician, that's kind of like a job, like a career. It kind of is like a career, because like
It's turned
if
into
if
one because of
because well, yeah,
what they've
because what if
done.
you contribute like 10 years of your life in politics, and then you get kicked out, then what do you do? What kind of skills do you have to do something else other than politics after that?
Well, that's why they're all like this.
Like
They're all
you're
afraid to
not
go
gonna
do
become a
something
plumber
else.
after you're a politician. Like you're not gonna be a car mechanic after you're a politician. You're not gonna be an IT guy
I'm pretty sure with the
because you
money
did it.
that they make, they could save it and go back to school for something if they really want to learn something or do a trade. Like, why
I
not?
mean, that's easy for you to
Reinvent
say, but like
yourself. Fuck, come on.
imagine like 2 years from now they tell you, okay, Matt, you can't be a sales guy anymore. So now go do something else.
All right, I'll find something that I like and pursue it. Like, I'll if I need to go back to school,
But what if it doesn't pay the same money? It pays you less. Instead of
I have
making
to
80
do
grand,
fucking
it pays
something.
you 40 grand.
Okay, so what am instead of doing that, do absolutely nothing? I'll do something. I'll find it. I can still choose what I want to be. It's not like they're telling me you have to be a
All I'm
plumber.
saying is like there's a reward for your efforts. It's like if you do something long enough, you should be able to get paid more, right? So term limits are great and all, but like if somebody sacrifices their life to be a politician and they gain skills over time, why should they just quit that after like a certain amount of time?
I get it, but then you're stuck in the situation that we're in now. So
I
is
know,
that
man. That's what I'm
working?
saying. The world is not just an easy
Is
eight.
it working?
Yeah, two
I
plus
don't
two
think so.
equals four.
That's why I'm saying I think age limits are better than term limits because you get to a point where it's like, all right, man, let someone younger have at it. Like let someone, yes, you have experience, that's great, but it's like get the young blood in here, let them start learning and go do their thing. Like I honestly think they're just so lethargic. They're just set in their ways. Maybe it'll change when all the 30-year-olds that grew up with like the internet and like the culture that we have now are in office when we're all in our 60s. Like
I
maybe it'll be
mean,
different.
we had fucking Andrew Yang. He was pretty cool. And what? They didn't give him any fucking attention whatsoever.
Yeah.
Zero. The media like ignored the shit out of him. At some point, they didn't even invite him to the debates because he wasn't gonna get enough quote unquote support. Like there's like certain percentage you need to
Yeah,
get to be like
it's
to proceed to the
but
next round.
but that's like that's what I'm saying. That's in the Democrats' own little bubble. That's where they
Yeah.
were citing those numbers. They're not citing the general public or views on internet or any of
That's
that
one thing I
stuff.
don't understand. How do they determine all that? Like I just don't get it.
It's their own it's so they have control. That's where the real
Like are
control
they
is.
polling people? Are they like
Yeah, it's the Democrat.
I just don't
It's
understand that.
it's registered. So say you're a Democrat. If you are a registered Democrat, when you get that piece of paper that's like, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat. When you go to the DMV or whatever, you tell like what party you're affiliated with. If you
Right.
check Democrat, now you're in this group where they will send you like letters and emails or whatever, and then they will do these little votes throughout like time throughout the year, and they'll say, hey, who are you leaning towards? Who do you want to see in the primaries? Who do you want to do this? And that's where they pull their data from, and they go, okay, all these people here, and the majority of people that check that box, they ignore that mail and they do not fucking give a shit and they do not respond. It's this small little circle that's really interested. It's all those little interns at the Democratic National Convention that are listening to their boss, and their boss is like, everybody go to your thing, check for Biden because we want to get him in the primaries. And that's where they're pulling this data from. It's from these small groups of crazy people that are like interns that are listening to all their bosses, and that they're like, hey, Biden's like 98%, so he'll be first in the primary, and it looks like Andrew Yang has 0, so nobody gives a fuck about him. Don't even invite him. When in
So yeah,
reality,
so in the end, it's only 20% of people in this country who are governing 80%.
yes, that's what I'm saying. If you look at the numbers, I remember seeing something. It's like Democrats are like 10%, Republicans are another 10%. And then out of all the people that voted, what was it, 75 million for each candidate? This was like one of the largest elections we had. 75 million for each candidate turns into how much? God, I'm so bad at math. What is it? 75 plus 75 75 plus 75 150. So that was 150 million. That's still only half of the country out of 300 million that we have in the United States. Only half of them actually voted for our president.
Right. So Matthew, let me ask you this. Let's wrap this up. Last question. So if you could spend the next 20 years being an activist and doing what you believe in, like the what we just talked about, or spend the next 20 years, I don't know, playing video games, traveling to beautiful countries, I don't know, having children with your wife.
Oh God,
Tell me, which one would you pick?
Jesus Christ! I mean, you know the fucking answer. It's like I want to do.
So I'm saying it's fucking
I
pointless, dude. It's
I
a
know
waste of
I love
fucking
me,
time.
and that's what happens. It becomes this point where it's so insurmountable that people that are actually good at what they're doing, that are actually smart, educated, they take this road where it's like, why would I waste this shit on something that is gonna basically like waste my life when I could go make some money? I could have a beautiful wife, I can have kids, I can spend time with them. Like, yes, the smart people are gonna go that direction because it's easier, more fun, all that other stuff. But there is something towards like wanting to help other people that would motivate me. My motivation would be like, hey, I want to see everyone live in a country that they like to be in, where we're not dealing with this stupid shit we see on the internet right now, or in the media, where it's us versus them. To have somebody grow up and have all the opportunities available that I had, it's like that's a motivating factor for me. Like I like doing that. I like feeling that. Like no matter who they are or what they are, that they can grow up in a country where they're like, hey man, if I want to sit on my ass and play video games, I can. And like that is so special for us to be able to do, and not everyone in the world gets to do that. And I want to keep it that way and make it better if possible.
Right. I mean,
So
I
that's the
think
motivating factor.
that's has always been the thing. It's the American dream, right? Like ability for you to achieve something if you work hard for it. but we're creating a generation of people who don't want to work hard for it, but they still expect to get everything that they want, like spoiled children. So I'm telling you, man, this is not an easy 2+2 answer. This is like a
I know.
we would need to overhaul the whole world, and obviously that's not going to happen. So
Why
because
not?
humans are flawed,
Why can't
humans
it be
are
us, Greg?
human nature is flawed, and it cannot be fixed.
Dude, it's so funny talking with you because I feel like we are literally like the two opposites of a coin. When you are presented with a problem, I see like literally sunshine and rainbows and like what it
Yeah,
can possibly
probably.
be, and I see this utopia, and you're sitting there and you're like, this shit is straight fucked, and there is no goddamn way anything is happening. So you might as well do what you can while you can because we're so screwed in the future.
Yeah, man. It's gotta be a personality trait.
Oh
Honestly, I
my.
think Polish people are more like I don't know. We come
Pessimistic.
from a fucking country where we were fucked by Russians, Germans.
And you didn't exist
We
like
don't we don't
three
we don't
times.
trust we don't trust anybody, and we always try to see who's gonna fuck us over and how they're gonna do it. Like we never go,
Oh
oh,
wow.
he has good intentions. We go, oh, okay, he's trying to help me. I wonder why he's doing that. He's probably trying to fuck me over some way.
Oh wow. Dude, I'm
Oh,
from like the
this
land
product
of
is free. Wait a second, it can't be free. There's gotta be some strings attached, and you know, it's never like, oh yeah, it's just totally free. We're just giving away product because we want to just like promote it.
I think that is
Um,
one of my character flaws is I am too nice. I give people benefit of the doubt. Until they fuck me over, I don't think they ever will. Like that, you know what I mean? It's like I think everyone is wonderful until I see evidence otherwise. You know what I mean?
well, did anyone ever fuck you over though?
Oh yeah, many times. I had
Okay.
this kid in high school that dicked me over so bad. We were like on the robotics team together and stuff, and he straight backstabbed me, dude. And I was like, oh fuck, like this dude wasn't my friend at all. Like we were in honors programs together and doing all this stuff, and he just saw me as competition. So he just tried to get rid of me, and I was like, dude, you're a dick. Like I've
Yeah,
had it happen to me, and yeah, when that happens, dude, you cut him out. You drop him like dead weight. Like I have no problem doing that. I can cut him out. I'm not like a
yeah.
victim to it, but there is a certain vulnerability where it's like, yeah, okay, I want to believe the best, and I want to
I
hope
don't know,
for the
dude. It's like
best.
I think I've been pretty positive for like the first half of my life, and then eventually, the more people I started interacting with, the more I started like becoming less trusting to of people. You know,
Yeah.
heartbreaks, and then like my friends being douchebags, and just not being trustworthy, and like stabbing in the back. And at that point, you just go like, "Fuck! Well, I'm not gonna trust anybody, and just expect everybody's trying to fuck me over. So if they don't, I'm gonna be positively surprised, and if they do fuck me over, try to fuck me over, I'll be ready for it, and I'll
Yeah.
counter it back or just like cut them out. So there's two approaches, I guess. Is you can say, I'm just gonna go through life with a positive attitude that everybody's like trying to be a good person, and I'm just gonna imagine that that's like the normal. And if somebody fucks me over, that's like a you know anomaly. And for me, it's like the opposite. For me, a good person is an anomaly. Everybody else is trying to fuck me over. So I guess I'm glass half empty. You are glass half. Wait, glass full or something like that.
Yeah. I'm half full, you're half empty.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's a great dichotomy. It's a wonderful relationship. God, it's
Yeah,
like you're from the country of just like pain and suffering and looking over your shoulder all the time, and I'm from like the country of lollipops and rainbows and like
yeah, and so
everything's
like
wonderful.
just on this sample alone, can you imagine like how that reflects on like entire American society where there's people from all different countries, different
Yeah.
religions, different governments? It's like
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why if you turn it more into individualistic rights and people, and you just we preach tolerance more than us versus them, or I'm right, you're right. It's just more like, hey, man, let's get along. Like, let's create a country where I can live next to who cares, and it doesn't matter because we're
dude,
happy. Like, right?
Honestly, I think we've been like that for a long time until like between Obama and Trump. That's when shit just like the
It
media just like divided us in half basically
wasn't
because
too bad. Like,
before
yeah.
that, dude, before that I didn't care about politics at all. I was like
Oh yeah.
when Obama was elected, I was like, okay, he's probably not going to be the best president, but I shrugged it off and I was like, okay, whatever. And I read some articles that were kind of critical of Obama, and I was kind of agreeing on it. But overall, like I didn't really care. I was just like, okay, he's just president, whatever. Like I'm gonna do my thing, right?
Yeah.
That was kind of like my attitude. And then once we hit like the 2016 election, that's when just shit just went downhill. Like
Oh my. It
it
got
it, it
out of hand.
became it got out of hand, and it really is the media to blame because we got to the point where clickbait became popular. So it's like in their
Dude,
interest to create drama and like
it's a
division.
combination of so many things. It's like tech industries like finally getting like established. Like it's not 2008 where like the iPhone just came out. Like it's like
Right.
you have these companies being established. These platforms are finally like there. Like all these things. Like it was like this perfect storm of like a crazy personality and like this super hated woman that like is basically representing the oligarchy and what has been and things people are frustrated with this crazy dude that has all these new ideas and he grabs everyone by the
Yeah.
pussy, right? It's like it was literally such a shitstorm of like perfect proportions.
I think I think if you look like history of United States, there was a point where everything was kind of like Wild West. Like you can do whatever you want. You can shoot somebody, and if nobody sees it, nobody's gonna care.
Back in like the
There might be s-
1800s, but
there might
yes.
be some there might be like some good people like trying to be sheriffs and uphold the law and like make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. But for the most part, it was like a Wild West, right?
Yeah.
So I think the internet is going through that phase where
Oh
it
yeah.
was a pretty Wild West, and now we are slowly becoming more civilized on the internet.
It's gone through
So
civilization. Yeah, it's like you can't just do whatever you want anymore.
yeah, and that's the thing. It's like there's also like a balance. So we have to go like, should we allow people to do whatever they want on the internet, or should we have some sort of standard of behavior?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's
Because
like real life. It's like, should we allow somebody to just walk up to somebody and shoot them in the head, or should we, try and stop that? It's like there is a line,
yeah,
obviously.
so
No, I do not
like
want people to be able to facilitate terrorist attacks on websites. That is a
right,
bad thing. But you also can't just silence someone because they're like, I hate Hillary Clinton, right? Like, there's lines to be drawn, and you just need to
yeah,
find them.
yeah, and that's the thing. I think the internet is going through that phase. Like there's going to be sort of everything's going to be more organized, but that means the internet is not going to be the same thing as it used to be. Just like the country is not what it used to be. It's like things are going to change, and so you're just going to have to like get used to the new ways because that's the way to forward. So I mean, I want to see that as a positive, but like it's hard to as well because there was a lot of cool stuff that happened to the internet, and we're seeing that literally being destroyed.
Yeah, I
So
I lean more Wild West. Dude, I really loved like just
I mean,
being
yeah,
able
we
to
all
go
do.
anywhere, do anything.
We all like that. That's why I think China is like ahead of us with everything. That's
well,
why they already have the social system. That's why they already have all the cameras and all. Like that's why they're already almost like a cashless society because I think they're ahead of us. And I think that's why this is gonna like come to United States at some point. We're just kind of like behind.
I mean, okay, here's the thing with China. With China, in a certain way, they are ahead of us because if you want something done and you get every single person to think and act alike, you are going to be way ahead of everybody else.
Right.
But on the
Exactly.
other hand, is that really a way to live? Like for on a human standard, is that
Yeah.
really the best way for a human to live, or should people be able to have those individual rights, freedoms, thoughts, actions, and So if you're thinking on a societal civilization type level and term, dude, China is like the blueprint for, do you want to go colonize other worlds? Do you want to go to space? Because if you do what China's doing, you can pull your resources and do some crazy shit. Oh, it costs 3 trillion to do this. We're good. We'll just have everybody pay like a $10 tax and we can go do it now. Like,
Yeah.
and it's done and we have the money for it now. So good, let's do it. Like, that is a crazy thing to be able to do and really beneficial for certain things. But it begs the question, is that really like us as a species, we need to decide what we want to do. Do we want to be individualistic? Because we're going to be on this earth the rest of our existence if that's what we decide. But if we want to band together and like set some standards, we could be much greater. But will people like snap, right? Will people like go crazy like I'm stuck in a system? Like I don't think people will be able to handle it, you know? Like there will
Yeah.
be deaths
I
and
Again,
mental
I'm gonna be a
breaks.
negative person here, but I'm gonna say that
It's gonna happen anyway.
it's gonna be a small group of people who is going to make all the decisions for the planet. So at that point, individual rights are gonna be disregarded because there's a greater like end goal. So if we need to build a rocket ship to go to Mars, we don't care if people have like good living conditions. We just need them to work like almost like slaves because the bigger goal is to build a civilization on a different planet. So we don't
Yeah.
care what these scrubs want, if they want nice meals or nice clothes or nice cars or a nice house. We just give them enough good conditions so they don't want to like kill themselves,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
No,
they
I
need to
get.
work like 12-hour shifts to do our shit for us.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, shit, bro. I don't think it'll ever get
Uh,
that bad, but I mean, honestly, if there are things we can do now where there would be a little bit of a growing period, but if we actually all collectively banded together, we could do some crazy wild shit right now. The only reason we don't is because people are like, well, it costs money and it's expensive and it'll take labor and that's not what people want to do. But if we like,
you should watch this one documentary. The guy kind of summarizes it in a section called "Way Forward." I think it's like a three-part video. It has some like conspiracy theory to it, but there's definitely like people who have those ideas. But in the end, what's always in the way is human nature. That's all
yeah.
always that's in the way
Well, that's why you
because
got to play to it. You have to excite everyone and say, hey, you know why we got the space? It's because everyone went, hey, guys, we're going to band together and we're going to beat those fuckers over there, those Russian
yeah. But
motherfuckers. And everyone went,
what?
yeah, let's do it.
Well,
And
but
you play
what
to the
if
human nature.
what if all the Christians don't care about going to space? They just want to believe in God
Eh,
and they don't want to go to Mars.
I mean,
See, that's what I'm saying. It's like,
they just get left behind then, I guess. I don't know.
well, that's why in my opinion, is that's why they want to get rid of all the religions because those are in the way of the common like goal.
True.
Because
I
if
mean,
somebody believes in God, they don't care about going to space.
yeah, you just tell them God needs you to colonize space. Like,
Like, okay,
and they're
I'm
all
not gonna
about it.
lie. To me, space is like cool, but I don't give a fuck if we go there or not. Like, I really don't care. It's like it makes zero difference to me. I would like not go. Like, that wouldn't be my goal if I was running this world. Like, I wouldn't care about going to space. Like, why should we? Like, it's like a lot of resources for what?
Yeah, I mean, oh,
For
so
survival of our species, and that's pretty much it.
yeah, that's basically it. It's like you want to diversify a little bit. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's really the
Right.
only reason. Uh, is put people on Mars and have them try and terraform that and be like, good luck. But then like, I mean, I'm sort of in the same boat. It's not our lifetime. Like we're in that weird middle spot where it's like, we were born too late to discover new lands and we're born too early to discover new planets. So, you know,
Yeah.
it we're it's
Yeah, we're
it
we're
is what
the
it is.
we're the forgotten generation.
Yeah, there's gonna be a couple thousands of years where people will look back and they'll be like, there were Stone Age people, and then now we're in space.
Yeah.
They're gonna like forget about this era for sure. There was something about an
Yeah.
internet. I don't know. Yeah, dude. I don't know. Well,
I mean, that's another thing. It's like we're gonna build all this automation on the robots and stuff, and it's like,
well,
how
this
many
is
people are we gonna need to do stuff? And
what
you
I'm
know,
saying is if we banded together, like we could make a really great society where people have to work less, and if the wealth is spread around, we'll still be able to do what we need to do. The problem is you can't get people to cooperate, and there's greedy people that want all the money and stuff for themselves. So it's not going to happen that way. But if you were in a utopian society, you would say, "Hey, let's create robots for all this stuff. We'll only have like specialized positions. Everyone gets like equal housing. Like you could honestly probably make all that stuff. Say you had a dictator, you could do that. The problem is people that have control, like that have their own companies or things like that, that are making money hand over fist. They're not going to want to give that up. That's going to be the barriers here with capitalism
yeah.
is those guys want money and then they want more money and they have to always be exponentially growing or they're failing. That's a really bad mentality capitalism has where hey, are you not growing? You're failing. Like stagnation
I
is
mean,
not good. Downsizing is
I
not
mean that
good.
is true though. Like if you're not growing, you're not progressing. So
Well, that's yeah,
you shouldn't be rewarded if you suck. Just because you got to a certain point and then you stopped, that you shouldn't be rewarded for that. You
but the
should
problem
be
with
always
money is
getting
like
better.
yeah, there's a getting better, but then there's also a getting richer. And the getting richer part is what isn't good, but that's what translates when it comes to these businesses. It's hey, how are my stocks? Are they going up? We're doing good. Are they going down? We're doing bad. Like it needs to always be exponentially growing, and if it's not, you're failing and it's bad. And that's I don't think that's a great mentality to have either because that will come back to bite you in the ass. And I think that creates a
Hmm.
bubble in and of itself that eventually collapses and then shit goes crazy because oh my god.
Well, this is the fundamental disagreement because that's how capitalism works, and that's the difference between socialism and capitalism. Whereas capitalism, you're always supposed to do better, and
Yeah,
you're
but you
supposed to
can
have
define
freedom to
better.
you should have freedom to make as much money as you can because that motivates you to do better. If you had a cap, like let's say you had a cap as a CEO that you can only make $1 million a year, that's your max. What would motivate you to do better with your company, knowing that you're going to make $1 million every year?
Well, my thing would be okay, well, there's so many things to this. One is A, there should be other factors of motivation besides monetary ones, which I know that doesn't always work, and there are people that are solely monetarily focused, but there should be able to be different factors of motivation than just
I mean,
singularity
in the end, that's
monetary.
again, like I said, it's all human nature. Because why do guys want to make more money? So they can have cooler things, so they can sleep with better looking women.
There's a certain point where you get to like you have so much money you don't know what the fuck to do with it and then you start turning back away from money and in towards yourself. Like all these billionaires, you ask them, they'll be like, money, dude, I'm fucking over that shit. I have so much money, I don't know what to do. You know what I want
I
to do?
mean,
I want to go to
technically,
some.
I mean, Bill Gates is donating some of his money, so you can't say that he's just hoarding all the money for himself.
I'm not saying it's
But
hoarding. I'm just saying like those types of people eventually they start desiring other things in life because they've worked so hard, they've earned so much money that they're like, okay, what does it really mean to be human? I don't think it's money. I think it's
oh,
something
now we're
else.
talking like a different, just like perspective on life.
I know.
Because even me personally now I'm going through this phase where I'm like, now that I'm working at this high level, I'm making all this money. Am I really happier at this point or am I not? Like,
Yeah.
do I need to have this $1,300 phone that I just bought, or would I be good with the one that I had, which I would say I would be
You have to
just
find
fine,
that
honestly.
balance. Like for me, I value my time more than money. It's why I like my job that I can stop doing at a certain hour because I want my time in the evening
Well,
to do
in
what I
the
want.
end, money is power, and power gives you choice. And humans are kind of like that, where we like to have choices and things available to us. That's why kings would always wear the nicest clothes, have sex with the best women, live in a big castle. that's why kings became kings, because it meant having ability to do whatever you want that gives you pleasure.
Yeah,
That's why peasants couldn't do anything. They wore dirty clothes. They worked
but the problem
20-hour
is
days on the farm.
we've gotten away from that. There's only certain levels where that becomes true. If you're talking our level, like the mid level, like you can become a slave to money and honestly chase that like tail for so long that eventually you lift your head up and you're like, oh fuck, like what have I been doing? I think that happens to a lot of people. Like it only becomes when you're making like millions on millions do you start getting that kind of power. There's these people that try and chase it at this lower level where the trade off it's not there for them. It's more of like a hey, I can make enough to do what I want to do and balance like find that balance. Yeah, you don't want to make nothing, but you also don't want to just try and slave over money to get a car that you never drive because you're always working anyway, so it doesn't matter. Like, right? There's like a
Yeah,
balance you
I
need to
mean,
find.
at the end of the day, that comes down to like personal decisions and personal philosophy for
Yeah,
life. So
I agree.
good luck changing that on a bigger scale.
Well, I'm not saying it needs to
We're
change
creating
on
a
a bigger
society.
scale.
We're creating a society that is 100% narcissistic, and everybody just wants to have good shit for themselves.
Yeah.
We're not gonna have anything good coming from that.
I was just saying when I was talking about the utopian type of stuff, I was just saying, hey, if you somehow got humans to think like this, there could like crazy shit could be done. I was just saying
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
there
for sure.
is like hey, if we all banded together, we could do some nutty stuff. We could probably get rid of
But at
fossil
that
fuels in
point,
like
yeah,
3
we're
years
just
if we
talking about
decided to
yeah,
do it. But
we're
we
just
don't.
talking fantasy world at that point.
They're even
It's like, yo, yeah, like if I could change the world, yeah,
oh yeah.
I would cut off guys' dicks, and I would make women less materialistic, and
Oh my God.
we can do like fantasy world wish wash list, like
Only I have the dick. No one else may have the dick. I am now the only dick. That's so much.
well, because the reason I say that because there's a lot of people like that on the left, the liberals, where they want to change the world, but they don't know how to get there. They just say things. They just like, we want XYZ and this is what needs to be done. But they don't understand that that's either impossible or they just don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Yeah, yeah. I
Like, you
understand.
have to have a realistic approach. Like, hey, if we want to change how much, like, let's say, what the salary is for an average human being, what do we do? Like, we can't just say, like, oh, yeah, people need to get paid more. But
Oh
how do
yeah.
you do that?
No, I
You
agree.
know?
There has to be plans put in place. The money has to come from somewhere. Where does it come from?
Yeah.
That's why I was saying, like, if you have these people, so using Tesla as an example, say they make their electric truck, it's automated, it puts all truck drivers out of work. That is a huge contention where truck drivers are like, I'm going to fight this because I don't want to be out of a job. But generally the automation should make roads safer. It should be more like fuel efficient if they're all electric, all this stuff. But now all this money goes to Tesla because it's their cars driving, and there's a consolidation of wealth to where instead of spreading it across all these people doing jobs, you have one
Yeah, I mean,
company making it all.
ideally, we want automation to do all of the work for us, and we can just have a small minority of people who run it, and then everybody else just can enjoy their life and just
So here's what I was
do
saying
things
though.
that
So
matter.
what's the realistic thing for that? So Tesla wants to come in and say, "Hey, we want to replace every truck on the road with our trucks. They'll drive themselves. They'll be able to go from point A to point B. No humans needed anymore." So what do you do with this huge population that now is out of work? This is what you do. Tesla, we'll let you do this. We need you to take a percentage of that money that you're going to get from basically all these jobs now, and we need you to help give that to these guys that are all going to be out of work. We're not just going to give it to them. What I would do is I would reinvest that into education for all of these truck drivers. What I would do is I'd say, hey, Tesla, pay for each one of these truck drivers that you're putting out of work, pay for them to go back to college, to go to school, to find a different trade, to get trained, whatever it is. Create a program, and in like 4 years, like 2 to 4 years, whatever these guys are deciding, they can come back into the workforce doing something else. And it's gonna end up being a win-win. Yeah, it'll be painful for Tesla to be like, okay, so we're getting all this money, but we have to pay it to these guys. But in the long run, hey, you're gonna have the whole fucking market. It's gonna be worth it.
Well,
And then
let me
you're
put it this way.
taking these people and bettering their lives, giving them an education that they probably couldn't have had before, but now they
I
can
don't know,
have.
Matt. If somebody told me that I'm gonna lose my cloud engineer job 2 months from now, and then I have to go to college and learn something new, I would fucking shoot myself because I don't want to go to college ever again. So imagine a 40-year-old truck driver. You tell him you cannot be a truck driver anymore. Now you have to go learn something new. Do you really think that that truck driver is gonna go, okay, I'm gonna learn new things now. It's gonna be so exciting.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen, dude.
Well, it's so with the money that's being made, what I'm saying is you give that money to them so that they can reinvest it in their education. Like you'd be paying for their mortgage as if they still had the job. You'd be paying for their food during this time frame of
So
transition.
universal basic income.
But it's
Hey,
not
maybe you are a progressive liberal, man.
it's not just universal basic income though, because there is a way to find this money, and it's coming from like a displacement of the jobs that already had. It's not just, hey, we're going to tax people and then give people a set amount. There's a reason why these people are being displaced. It's because we're advancing in technology in a way that's going to put these guys out of work. And with all that money Tesla's going to make anyway, it would have been going to the truck drivers. So during this transition period, keep giving those truck drivers that money that they would have been earning. It's as if they weren't doing anything else, but now they have this free time to invest it learning something else if they desire. If they don't, I mean, you can't force people to do this stuff, but you can at least say, hey, there's this transition period that's going to happen, and we'll make it a long enough time to where you can invest in a different job, a different education, and at least it's something rather than just like, hey, you're out of a job, go find a new one, which is going to happen anyway. So this makes that transition easier. The money's coming from somewhere it was already coming from. Like Tesla's basically just sitting on this for the long run of, okay, once this transition period's done, we're making all the money now. And as a business owner, you would still take that deal. You'd be like, hey, 4 years of not making money but running this operation for the infinite like possibility for the next 20, 30, 50 years of owning that market of delivering goods from one place to another, like I will make my money back. I will have the money to do all of this stuff. Like it's possible. You can make something
Did
happen.
did Uber pay any of the taxi drivers?
No, but
Exactly.
that's why there is this point of contention to where it's like, okay, so now you have Uber, you're putting all these taxi drivers out of work where they're not all
Let's
out of
face it.
work.
There's a need for labor, and if the need for labor is no longer there, then the
Well,
people who were
there's
doing that
different.
job, they're out of luck,
Here's a different thing though.
and
Uber's
they have
different
to just.
because all they did was they just provided more competition. So they're just bringing the market down. The taxi drivers were overcharging for certain things when somebody else would do it for less, right? So that's different than a full automation change in society. Like that's a different step that we need to take and I want to see taken, and I want to see us not driving cars in 10 years. I want to see us click a button on an app. I want to have a car show up in my driveway in 2 minutes. It'll take me to where I want to go. I get out, that car goes away. When I want to leave wherever I'm at, whether it's a store or whatever, I press the button again. Another car comes up. It's a random car. It's different. I get in, takes me back. Like
Or
that is
why
the
drive a
future.
car? Why if you can just do all your things at your home and you get things delivered to you, so you don't have to leave the house ever?
I mean,
You're making
yeah,
it too complicated, man.
I just say it. I'm a visionary, bro. I can see things.
No. No, that part, yeah, I could see that too. Like that's totally legit. Like, hey, yeah, I want to go to a party to my cousin's house. Car, take me there. I don't want to think about it. Press the button, unload. I get out, enter my cousin's house, drink bottle of vodka. Then somebody orders me a fucking car to take me home,
Hmm.
and yeah, that I can totally see that. But this idea of like training people who lose jobs, yeah,
It's
I
a
mean,
transition
I
period.
get it.
It's better than nothing. I mean, for what happens now, it's like
I
there's
mean,
these growing
that's just
pains.
that's just how it works, man. Like, if somebody loses a job, they have to either find the same job somewhere else or they have to find a completely different job.
I'm just saying we should be like we're at a point now where we should be able to help them in that transition, especially the company that's basically going to be taking all of their jobs. When you have a sweeping mass automation like this, there's the opportunity to do this where it's like, hey, let's get there is an opposition. All these truck drivers are going to oppose this because they're losing their jobs. Let's bridge the gap. It lessens the opposition. Maybe there are now less people that are, against us doing this because they will take the opportunity that we're going to give them. And at the very least, we're helping this transition period to eventually get to where we need to get anyway. That's going to happen anyway. And maybe we can even speed things up along because they're like, okay, let's do this. Put your trucks on the road. Give me the money that like you're going to give me and let me invest it. Let me figure out what I'm going to do with my life, like all that stuff. And they'll still make money. Like Tesla will still make money. They can pay
Right.
these people and they will still make money 100%. It's going to be a win-win. And that's what I'm saying when it comes to like corporatism is there can be a point where they're like, "Hey, let's do something for these people. Like these people we're taking their jobs. We are replacing them. Let's do something for them as like a sign of good faith as like, hey, we are a company of a future. We do care about you guys. Like we want
Yeah,
this to
so
happen,
so
but
maybe with that attitude, maybe voting for like Biden and the Democrats is a good thing because they want to provide free education, they want to provide universal basic income, they want to provide free healthcare.
but
So that takes away a lot of those things that you're talking about.
but
Like,
here's the thing though. Here's the disconnect. Yeah, like yeah, you're saying that, but that's just them using their words with like they don't have the plans or the actions to actually back it up the right way.
well, yeah, that's like I said, the
Yeah,
wishful thinking
this is the
part.
disconnect.
Like,
They say all the things you want to hear. That's a nice shiny rainbowy world. The thing is, I'm saying this with an actual action plan to make it happen. They're just saying it to say
damn,
it,
you
and
are
they're like,
such a
"Duh, duh, duh."
bigot and a racist, and how dare you not agree with me right now? This is so unacceptable. I think we should ban you, dude. We should ban you from Twitter.
I'll wear the
Like,
band with the
you're
badge of honor.
see how that goes?
Hey man, that's just crazy people, dude. You let them say whatever
Well,
they want. You just
we
sit
have
there and
half
smile,
of the
dude.
country is crazy, apparently.
Dude, on that
I don't know.
note, I think we've talked for long enough. This has been
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
long.
we're going full circle at this point. So let's just end it here. It's time to go to bed.
Yeah.
We
Well,
we can like have this conversation another time. Part two.
it sounds good. All right,
This
man.
was a good Joe Rogan experience.
Yo, Joe Rogan. Well, I'll call it a half glass full, half glass empty.
There you go.
A tale of a pessimist versus optimist.
Yeah, there you go.
Why our country is fucked.
Pessimist with weird accent and shitty communication skills.
That's not true. All right, dude. Well, have a good night. I'm gonna head to bed here.
All
I'm
right.
just
Good
priority
night, man.
sleeping. Night, dude. Peace.
Peace.